Back before I got tangled up in high-risk operations, my life was all about grit and struggle in a little town called Willow Creek, Montana. I was born Bryce Leland to my folks, Hank and Doreen, who were nuts about old TV shows. Growing up, kids gave me hell for my oddball name, and I wasn't one to back down. I scraped in the schoolyard and got an earful from my parents when I got home. After graduating high school, I needed direction, so I signed up for the Marines. 6 grueling years, including stints in scorching desert outposts, put me on the radar of some shadowy folks. They pulled me into a secret group called Nexus Prime, where I played the part of a plain Jane IT guy. My average looks and easygoing vibe let me slip under the radar, which the outfit, our little nickname for the organization, loved. They leaned on my knack for keeping things quiet and thinking sharp. It was during those days I met Tessa, a bright and open-hearted gal, in a coding workshop the agency set up. We hit it off, tied the knot, and found joy in the small stuff, even if her trusting nature sometimes made me uneasy. One night, I pulled into the garage of our place in Raleigh, North Carolina, grinning at the sight of Tessa's car and the thought of seeing her. Stepping inside, the smell of her cooking hit me, a warm welcome that grounded me, reminding me I was more than just a soldier or a covert operative. I was her husband, too. That evening felt like a rare chance to breathe easy. Tessa worked as a paralegal and thought my job was just fixing tech problems across the globe. My cover as a traveling IT consultant let me gather intel without her suspecting a thing. I tried not to think too hard about what Nexus did with the info. Sometimes, I had to tap into my training in ways that left me rattled. That night, though, the house smelled like spicy chili, one of my go-to meals. The dining table was decked out with our fancy wedding plates, hinting at something special. Heading toward the stairs, I caught sight of Tessa, and my jaw hit the floor. She was in a tight red dress that hugged every curve, her auburn hair cascading down, and those heels, she looked like trouble I didn't mind getting into. The dress left little to the imagination, stirring thoughts I had to wrestle down to keep my cool. "What do you think?" she asked, giving a little twirl that showed off the barely there lace underneath. I swallowed hard, fighting the urge to pull her close right then. "You're killing me," I said, voice low. She giggled as I scooped her up, careful not to smudge her makeup. "What's all this for?" I asked, nodding at the fancy setup. "We've got company," she said, her smile faltering just a bit. "Company?" I set her down, noticing only 2 plates on the table. "Where's my spot?" "We need to talk, Bryce," she said, her voice catching. My gut twisted. "Talk about what? Who's coming over?" Her eyes darted away. "My boss, Nathan Carver." I felt my jaw tighten. "You mean that sleaze who acts like he's the king of everything?" She frowned. "That's just your take. He's actually decent, and you'd see that if you gave him a chance." "Doubt it," I said, arms crossed. "Keep talking." "You know that promotion I applied for?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, some big shot position." "Right," she said, shifting. "Nathan and his partners are eyeing me for it. It'd mean more cash for us, but I'd have to travel sometimes, maybe to Seattle or Italy. Isn't that cool?" I leaned in. "What's the downside?" Her hands fidgeted. "It might involve extra duties with Nathan and his crew." My blood ran cold. "Extra duties? You mean sleeping with them?" She nodded, barely meeting my eyes. "Yeah, but it wouldn't change us. Nathan says most guys secretly want to see their wife with someone else." "What else did he feed you?" I asked, my voice steady but burning inside. "He told me to call you a betrayed husband and said I shouldn't let you touch me without his say-so. He's coming tonight to make it happen." My fists clenched. "We've got a problem, Tessa." Her brows knit together. "What do you mean? Have I ever once hinted I'd be okay with that?" I snapped. "No," she admitted, "but Nathan says guys don't realize they want it until it happens." "Let me make this clear," I said, voice like steel. "You invited this guy to our house, to sit at our table, eat off our best plates, and then climb into our bed with you?" She nodded, barely whispering, "That's the plan." "Did he say it'd be a good time?" I pressed. "He said you'd come around," she murmured. "Have you already been with him?" My stare didn't waver. "No," she said, shaking her head. "He wants the first time to be with you watching." I took a deep breath, locking eyes with her. "Listen well. If you ever call me a betrayed husband, I'll make sure nobody finds a trace of you. If Nathan steps foot in here and disrespects me, I'll deal with him myself. And if you want this marriage to last, call him right now and quit your job. Her face paled. But he's already on his way, she whispered, fear flickering in her eyes. One last thing, do you want to stay married? Yes, she said softly. Then get upstairs and change, I told her. I'll handle Nathan. He's bigger than you, Bryce, she said, voice trembling. He's got a black belt or something. You're just a tech guy. I said I'll handle it. Go change. She bolted upstairs, tears streaming. I stood there, my mind racing. Divorce wasn't an option, it could blow my cover, and Nexus didn't take kindly to loose ends. They had ways of dealing with problems like this, but turning Tessa into a hollowed-out shell didn't feel right. I believed she hadn't crossed that line yet, but the risk was there. The doorbell snapped me out of it. I opened the door to a tall, broad-shouldered guy with a smug grin. You must be Nathan, I said, keeping my tone even. That's me, he replied, brushing past me like he owned the place. Everything in me wanted to wipe that look off his face, but I held back. Come on in, I said, shutting the door behind him. Nathan shot me a smug look and chuckled. So, you're the betrayed husband, huh? I kept my cool, leaning against the wall. Nah, I'm just Tessa's husband. He snorted, rolling his eyes. Same deal. Get me a drink. I straightened up, staring him down. I'm not your waiter, pal. His face twisted, like he wasn't used to pushback. What did you just say? You heard me, I said, voice steady. Or you need a hearing aid too. Nathan's eyes narrowed, his smug grin fading. I could snap you in half. You know who I am? Yeah, I said, stepping closer. The guy whispering garbage in my wife's ear. Where's she at, by the way? She'll be down, I told him as Tessa walked in, dressed in a plain sweater and jeans. Nathan's jaw dropped. Why aren't you in the dress I got you, he barked. Tessa shrugged, avoiding his gaze. Didn't feel right. Nathan spun toward me. Tell her to put it on. I tilted my head toward the hallway. How about we talk this out in my study? There's nothing to talk about, Nathan snapped. Great, I said, a grin creeping onto my face. Then I'll just handle you right here. His laugh was sharp, mocking. You threatening me? Nope, I said, calm as ever. That's a guarantee. Tessa started to speak, but I held up a hand to quiet her. 10 minutes in my study, I told Nathan. If you're still standing, do whatever you want. He smirked, puffing out his chest. I was a regional kickboxing champ. Are you sure about this? 5 minutes, I repeated. Let's go. He laughed like I was a joke. You'll be crying for mercy. I led the way to the basement, nodding for Tessa to follow. She hesitated, her eyes wide. She wasn't used to seeing me like this, but she came along. Downstairs, I pointed to a chair against the wall for her to sit. Nathan stood there, smirking like he'd already won. What now, tough guy, he taunted. Your move, I said, hands loose at my sides. He mocked me, dropping to his knees with his hands behind his back. What, scared to hit me like this? Enough, I said, voice low. In a blink, I had him pinned, his arm twisted just enough to make him wince. If anybody asks, I whispered in his ear, you tripped on a wet floor. Nathan nodded, his bravado gone. Got it, he mumbled. Louder, I said, tightening my grip. I understand, he croaked. Good, I said, standing up. I know plenty of ways to make you disappear. Don't push me. I gave him a quick tap, lights out. Sleep tight, champ, I muttered. I pulled out my phone, dialed a number. Need a cleanup online too. Send an auditor while you're at it. Thanks. I hung up and turned to Tessa, who was staring, frozen in her chair. Is he gone? She asked, voice shaking. Nah, I said. Just a killer headache when he wakes up. Who are you? She whispered, eyes searching mine. What, you don't know your own husband? I said, cracking a smile. I thought you were just some IT nerd, she said, barely audible. I chuckled. Not every coder can pull that off, huh? No, she said, shaking her head. I've seen Nathan take down guys twice his size, break boards, all that. You dropped him like it was nothing. I shrugged. Doesn't matter how tough you think you are, there's always someone tougher. I was pissed, and he's lucky I didn't go harder. What's next for us? She asked, her voice small. That's up to you, I said, leaning back against the wall. Up to what? She pressed. How honest you're willing to be, I told her. When the auditor gets here, you'll see. Auditor? Her brow furrowed. What's that? It's a tool the outfit uses to check if you're telling the truth, I explained. And if I don't pass? She asked, her hands trembling. Don't worry about that, I said, keeping my tone even. She swallowed hard, a tear slipping down her cheek. Did you mean it, when you said you'd make me disappear if I called you that name? I met her gaze, unflinching. My mom cheated on my dad for years. He wanted out, but leaving would have cost him everything, so he stuck around for me and my brother. She threw that word in his face every day, tore him apart until he couldn't take it. One night, after my brother left for college, he tossed his ring, said his goodbyes at a dive bar, and drove his truck off a ravine. Tessa's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, Bryce, I'm so sorry. I bought into Nathan's lies. Can you ever forgive me? We'll find out after the audit, I said as the doorbell chimed. I opened the door to 3 guys in crisp gray suits. 2 of them loaded Nathan onto a stretcher and hauled him out. The 3rd guy pulled out a tablet hooked up to some fancy gadget. Ma'am, he said to Tessa, we'll be recording your statement. This device tracks your skin response and other signals, more accurate than any lie detector. Answer truthfully. Full married name? Tessa Leland, she said, voice steady but soft. Age? 26, she replied. The auditor glanced at me, gave a quick nod. I took a breath, steeling myself. Tessa, have you ever cheated on me since we got engaged? No, she said, shaking her head. Have you had any physical relationships with anyone during that time? No, she said again, firm. Nobody's touched you in an intimate way? I asked, my voice tight. No, she answered. I pushed on, feeling the weight of it. Were you planning to be with Nathan tonight? Tears welled up as she nodded. Yes, she whispered, her voice breaking. Why? I asked, searching her face. Nathan convinced me you'd want it, that you loved me enough to be okay with it, she sobbed. What else did he say? I pressed, my jaw tight. He said every husband secretly wants to see his wife with another man, she confessed. And you bought that? I couldn't hide the disbelief in my voice. I'm so sorry, Bryce, she said, her voice cracking. You're gone so much, and I thought it'd make you happy. Did they offer you a job that included being with management? I asked, the air heavy. Yes, she murmured. Clients too? My eyes narrowed. Probably, she admitted, looking down. Did you think I'd be fine with that? I asked, voice sharp. They said you'd push back at first but come around, she said. Did they hint there'd be trouble if I didn't go along? I asked, my tone darkening. Yeah, she whispered. It felt like a threat. Tessa's voice was barely audible as she admitted, yeah, it felt like a threat. I leaned forward, my eyes locked on hers. Are there women at your firm who have to do this kind of thing? She stared at the floor, nodding. Yeah, some do. And their husbands are okay with it? I pressed, my voice steady but sharp. That's what I've heard, she said, brushing a tear away. Have you ever talked to any of those guys yourself? I asked, not letting up. No, she admitted. It's just what the women told me. They said it brought in extra cash over time. So they're getting paid for it? I clarified, needing to hear it straight. Yes, she confirmed, her voice small. For a second, my anger eased, and I softened. Do you love me, Tessa? Her eyes welled up, tears spilling over. More than anything, she said, her voice shaking. Will you quit that job right now? I asked, firm but calm. She nodded, no hesitation. Yes. What if it comes to a lawsuit? You in? I searched her face for any doubt. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this, she said, desperation creeping into her tone. Are you just telling me what I think you want to hear? I asked, my gaze steady. No, Bryce, she pleaded. I'm so sorry I bought their lies. Please believe me. I glanced at the auditor's tablet, then at him. He gave a slight nod. Tessa, stay here for a bit, I said. I'll be back. I headed upstairs with the auditor to the living room. So? I asked, crossing my arms. She's telling the truth, he said, tapping his device. Prime wants to talk. He pulled up an app, and Victor Ramsey, the head honcho, Prime, popped up on the screen, his piercing eyes boring into me. Bryce, he said, sounds like your homecoming was a mess. Could have gone better, sir, I replied, keeping it short. I've seen the results. What's your take? Victor asked. Part of me wants to kick her out, I admitted, rubbing the back of my neck. Nobody's fault you for that, Victor said, his tone even. But there's more you need to know. Like what? I asked, frowning. A divorce could shine a light on your work with Nexus. That'd be bad news for both of you, he said. I nodded, knowing how tight Nexus kept its secrets. Understood. We've been digging into Paragon, thanks to intel you've pulled, Victor went on, catching me off guard. That includes keeping tabs on Tessa. Her judgment's been shaky, but she hasn't crossed any lines. Good to know, I said, processing it. What's the deal with Paragon? Not over this line, Victor said. But it's time to loop Tessa in. Can you handle that? I think so, I said, my mind racing. Good. Tell her only what she needs to know. Bring her to my office in Charlotte at 7:30 a.m. sharp, he ordered. She doesn't have clearance, I pointed out. She will by morning, Victor said. Technically, she's already in this, she just doesn't know it. That hit me hard. If he was right, Tessa would have to play ball, or things could get ugly. Have dinner, talk it out, and bring her in tomorrow. Got it? Victor asked. Yes, boss, I said. By the way, he added, sparing Nathan was technically a violation. How's he holding up? In a coma, Victor said before I could answer. If he wakes, he won't remember much. We'll clean up any loose ends. I nodded. See you tomorrow, Victor said, and the screen went dark. The auditor packed up his gear and headed out. Catch you later, he said over his shoulder. I went back downstairs. Tessa was still in the chair, wiping her eyes. She looked up as I walked in. I screwed up badly, didn't I? She said, her voice breaking. You did, I said, sitting across from her. I'm sorry, Bryce. I fell for Nathan's lies. I never wanted to hurt you. I'll pack and leave, you deserve better. She started to stand, but I grabbed her arm gently. No, stay, I said. I'm accepting your apology, and I owe you one too. For what? She asked, surprised. For being gone so much. My job's complicated. I get that, she said, but I shook my head. You don't, not really. For starters, Bryce Leland isn't my real name. Her eyes widened. Then who are you? That story about my dad? All true, I said. I was born Curtis Weller in Boise, Idaho. Curtis Weller, she repeated, a faint smile breaking through. Yeah, not exactly a cool name growing up, I said, chuckling. After the Marines, I became Bryce Leland. You were a Marine? She asked, clearly thrown. There's a lot you don't know, I said. Let's eat, and I'll fill you in. Is the chili still warm? She asked, standing. Should be in the oven, I said. Perfect. Let's eat and talk. Does this mean you forgive me? She asked, hope in her eyes. We'll see, I said, offering my hand. She took it, smiling faintly, and we headed to the kitchen. Over dinner, Tessa barely touched her chili as I laid out the truth I'd kept buried. I told her about growing up as Curtis Weller, my time in the Marines, and how Nexus Prime, a covert intel outfit, recruited me. I explained the name change, totally legal, I assured her. You don't strike me as a spy, she said softly. I laughed. Not every agent's some jacked-up movie star. The less you stand out, the better. Most of my work's dull, collecting data, nothing flashy. Did they teach you how to take down Nathan? She asked, leaning in. Yeah, I said. I got combat training, hand-to-hand stuff. Don't use it much, but I can hold my own. What level are you? She asked. Nathan bragged about being some high-degree black belt. I grinned, tugging at my belt. I've got a leather one, does that count? She laughed, then got serious. What happens to us now? That's on you, I said. We're meeting my boss tomorrow. He's a tough one. What time? She asked. 7 a.m., so we leave by 5 o'clock, I said. Then we should hit the sack early, she said, squeezing my hand. Bryce, I never meant to hurt you. I know, I said, my voice softening. But you did. It's gonna take time to sort through this. You're still here because you didn't go through with it. But I need to know why you thought I'd be okay with it. She sighed, looking down. It built up over months. A few weeks ago, the pressure got heavy. Nathan and others showed me studies, said every guy secretly wants it. They made it sound normal. I pushed back at first, but they kept at it. One woman even said it fixed her marriage. And you never thought to ask their husbands, or me? I asked, shaking my head. It's hard to believe you fell for it. They told me to keep it quiet, she said. Said it was supposed to be a surprise. That's what tonight was about. Well, it blew up in Nathan's face, I said. Yeah, she agreed, her voice quiet. You mentioned threats if I didn't play along, I said, leaning closer. What kind? They said their security team would come after you, she said. Vanguard, they called them. Vanguard? I raised an eyebrow. Nathan ran that crew. Ex-military types, real intimidating. They protect the company's big shots. They won't be thrilled about Nathan, I said. No, she admitted. What did they say could happen to me? I asked, my tone hardening. They talked about accidents, car trouble, random attacks. They hinted you could get hurt. I hear you, I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my gut. Promise me you'll be okay, Tessa said, her eyes pleading. Everything's gonna work out, I told her, hiding my own unease. Let's hit the sack and deal with this tomorrow, she suggested, her voice soft. Sounds good, I said. I'll handle the dishes. Tessa started clearing the table while I checked the house's security system, making sure every lock and camera was good to go. Then I slipped into my study, popped open a hidden safe, grabbed a pistol, and tucked it into my nightstand drawer, just in case. After that, I got ready for bed. Victor's words about reconnecting with Tessa echoed in my head, and I was set on making it happen. We lay together, close and tangled up, the kind of moment that shuts out the world. She leaned in, her breath warm against my ear, and whispered, I love you, Bryce. You're the only one for me. I know, I murmured, letting myself sink into her words, wanting nothing but that feeling right then. We held each other tight and drifted off. Come morning, we were up before the sun. I showered and shaved while Tessa brewed coffee, then we swapped spots. As she got ready, I suited up, checked the security system again, and poured us some coffee to go, tossing a couple of muffins in a bag for the road. When Tessa came downstairs, we grabbed our stuff and headed out. She raised an eyebrow when we pulled up to what looked like a rundown salvage yard on the outskirts of Charlotte. This is your office, she asked, half laughing. I grinned. Things aren't always what they seem. I parked near a beat-up storage shed. Hand me your phone, I said. I disabled the tracking software and gave it back. They were keeping tabs on you, I explained. They were tracking me, she said, stunned. Yeah, I said. Come on, let's move. Victor was waiting. I led her to the shed, which wasn't a shed at all, it opened into an elevator. As it hummed downward, Tessa's eyes widened, catching on to the setup. The doors slid open, and a guard in tactical gear stepped forward, asking for her ID. He scanned it, ran a quick retinal check, and nodded. Prime's expecting you, he said. I guided Tessa down a sleek hallway to a wide marble lobby etched with Nexus Prime and the words First Shield of Freedom. Another wall read, Our foes never rest, nor do we. We stepped onto a circular emblem that lowered us into a bustling room packed with monitors and operatives. A tall guy with a scar over one eye walked up. Victor Ramsey, he said, extending a hand. Call me Victor or Mr. Ramsey. You must be Tessa. That's me, she said, shaking his hand. Cool name, Victor said, smirking. My folks named me after the town where I was, well, you know, she said with a shy grin. Lucky it wasn't Muddy Creek, Nebraska, he quipped. She laughed. Fair point. Come into my office, he said, leading us into a glass-walled room. The walls tinted dark for privacy as we sat down. I've never heard of Nexus Prime, Tessa said, glancing around. That's the idea, Victor said. If you had, we'd have a problem. Oh, she said, nodding slowly. So what do you guys do? We collect intel from around the world, analyze it, and act when necessary, Victor explained, eyeing me. Your husband's one of our best. He turned to me. By the way, Nathan's alive but out cold. Nice work handling him, though dropping to his level was a gamble. Seemed like the right call at the time, I said. Victor's eyes narrowed. Don't pull that again. He shifted to Tessa. How long have you known about this executive support team at your company? Maybe 2 or 3 months, she said. What did they tell you at first? He asked. They pitched it as a high-level role, lots of travel, supporting the bigwigs. Said it came with a promotion and bonuses for me and Bryce, she answered. When did you find out about the personal side of it? Victor pressed, his voice sharp. About 2 weeks ago, while Bryce was away on his last trip, she said. Victor nodded and pulled up a video on a screen. Take a look, he said. The footage showed a private meeting room at Tessa's firm, Paragon. Tessa's jaw dropped. How'd you get this? She asked. Through the smart TV's camera, Victor said. You might have seen rumors about this kind of thing online. I thought that was just tinfoil hat stuff, Tessa said. Exactly what you're supposed to think, Victor replied, hitting play. The video showed a woman, Clara Hensley, one of Paragon's higher-ups, pouring Tessa coffee, slipping something into it, and handing it over. Hold up, I said. Victor paused it. Good catch. Clara probably spiked the coffee. We'll circle back to that. He resumed the video. Clara told Tessa the senior execs were thrilled about her joining the team and asked if I was on board. Tessa said I was supportive, always had her back. That's perfect, Clara said. Now, there's one part of the job we haven't covered. It involves personal services for management, sometimes clients, intimate services. Tessa looked floored on the screen. You're asking me to betray my husband? Not quite, Clara said. We'll make sure Bryce is okay with it. That's why he'll get bonuses too. Tessa hesitated, clearly uneasy. Clara leaned in. By the time we talk to him, he'll be excited for you. They say most guys secretly want this, they just don't say it out loud. I've never heard Bryce mention anything like that, Tessa said. He wouldn't, Clara replied. But deep down, it's a common desire. I want the role, Tessa said, but not if it hurts my marriage. Don't worry about Bryce, Clara said. We'll handle him. Just focus on your work and read the materials I send you. Tessa asked about other women's husbands, and Clara swore they were thrilled, with stronger marriages and fatter bank accounts. What do I tell Bryce? Tessa asked. Nothing yet, Clara said. We'll take care of it. Okay, Tessa said, uncertain. Good choice, Clara said, smirking as Tessa left. Victor paused the video. How'd you feel after that meeting? Victor asked Tessa. Shocked at first, then, weird, she admitted. Weird how? Like it sounded tempting? Victor pressed. Tessa's cheeks flushed. Yeah, I even had to step out for a minute. That was likely the pill Clara slipped into your coffee, Victor said. Did you feel that pull every time they brought up the team? Yeah, she said, barely audible. Victor queued up another clip, this time from Clara's office. Clara was on a call with a guy named Warren. I talked to Tessa Leland, Clara said. Will she go for it? Warren asked. I'm working on it, Clara said. Send her some articles to get her thinking. To get her excited, you mean, Warren said, laughing. Exactly, Clara said. Her husband's away, right? Yeah, Clara said. Give me time to prepare for her. She'll be ready by the time he's back. I'll deal with Leland if he gets in the way, Warren said. Nathan's already working on him, and we've got Vanguard on standby if needed. Careful, Clara warned. If anything happens to him, we lose her. Victor stopped the video and turned to Tessa, waiting for her reaction. My stomach churned as Warren's words hung in the air. Then we'll push the plan forward. I've got clients in Southeast Asia lined up. Tessa and I swapped a look, pure dread. 2 weeks, Clara said before the call was cut off. Who's Warren? I asked, turning to Victor. Warren Tate, Tessa said quietly. He's the top dog at Paragon. I shot Victor a hard stare. You knew about this? Easy, Bryce, Victor said, raising a hand. I couldn't pull you off your last op. I figured you'd handle Nathan, and you did. Your job's to roll with the punches. He leaned back in his chair. There's more footage, but it's the same story. Every meeting, they slip Tessa a pill to mess with her head, trying to turn her into a pawn. You were the real target, though. He paused, letting that sink in. You heard Warren mention buyers. We think Paragon's tied to a trafficking network. Tessa's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, she whispered. Victor pulled up photos of 5 women on the screen. These are Paragon employees who went missing. Tessa's eyes widened. I knew a couple of them. They told us REDACTED they said they were transferred, then just vanished. Their husbands were told they were on work trips, Victor said. Kept getting checks for a while, but eventually reported them missing. We believe they were trafficked. You were next in line, Tessa. Can they be saved? She asked, her voice trembling. Victor's face darkened. I'd be shocked if they're still alive. I clenched my fists. So what now? Tessa can't go back there. No way, Victor said. And they're already looking for her. He flipped to a live feed of our living room in Raleigh. 4 burly guys and Clara were poking around inside. How'd they get past our alarms? I demanded. Victor glanced at Tessa, one eyebrow raised. I didn't give them the code, she said, her voice shaky. We'll see what they're up to, Victor said, eyes glued to the screen. Clara's phone rang, and a second later, Tessa's buzzed. Victor nodded for her to pick up. Tessa, where are you? Clara snapped. Bryce and I aren't home, Tessa said, keeping it vague. What happened to Nathan last night? Clara pressed. I think he tripped or something, Tessa said. Tripped? Clara's voice was ice. He's in a coma. What really went down? Nathan picked a fight with Bryce, Tessa said. It didn't go how you thought it would. This is bad, Clara said. The bosses are pissed. Get to the office now. I'm done, Clara, Tessa said, her voice firm. I'm quitting. That's not an option, Clara shot back. You made promises. My promises to my husband, Tessa said. I'm out. Goodbye. She hung up, looking at me. I gave her a nod, damn proud of her. On the screen, Clara looked furious, jabbing at her phone. She barked at the guys, her phone's last ping was a scrapyard off Route 27. Go get them, alive, not dead. The 4 nodded and cleared out. Clara took one last look around, then bolted. The feed was cut off. We've got about an hour before they show up, Victor said, making a quick call. Operation Junk Pile, 1 hour, he ordered. An hour later, 2 dark SUVs rolled into the salvage yard. 4 suited-up guys stepped out, heading for my car, but 2 locals in coveralls cut them off. Tessa, Victor, and I watched it unfold on a monitor. What can I do for you fellas? One guy, call him Rusty, drawled, thick as molasses. One suit flashed a badge. We're looking for the owner of that car. Rusty grinned. Yo, Spike, this guy's got a shiny toy. Spike, the other local, chuckled, hoisting a shotgun. That's a toy. This is the real deal, he said, racking it. The suit froze. We don't want trouble, he said. Just answers. Fresh out of answers, Spike said, smirking. Got a free ass-kicking out back, though, if you're interested. The suits exchanged looks, realizing they were staring down armed locals. We ain't getting Leland without a brawl, one muttered. Their leader nodded. Let's roll. They backed off, piled into their SUVs, and peeled out, one heading north, the other south. Spike turned to Rusty, dropping the drawl. Where'd you pull that line from? Rusty shrugged. Felt right. Spike laughed, then radioed, suits are gone, one north, one south. Copy, Victor's voice crackled back. Hawk 1, tail those SUVs. On it, another voice replied. Victor hung up and looked at us. Let them stew for now, he said. They're waiting for you to slip up. I know, I said, my mind already spinning. What's next while we wait? Victor asked Tessa. Time to start digging up what you know, I said. Tessa blinked. What do you mean? Trust me, Victor said, leaning forward. You might be a bit too trusting, but you're sharp. You've got a hell of a memory, and there's stuff buried in there we need. It's time to unlock it. How? She asked, wary. We'll use a kind of guided hypnosis, Victor explained. Paragon's been messing with your head for months. Those pills they gave you the last couple of weeks? Part of their game. We need to undo it. I'm betting you'll remember more than you think once we do. Will it hurt her? I asked, my jaw tight. Nah, Victor said, waving it off. We've come a long way, no one's cracking skulls open like the old days. He grinned, but Tessa looked spooked, glancing at me. I gave her a nod to settle her nerves. Just messing with you, Victor said, chuckling. You'll be fine. Plus, I want to figure out what they doped you with. He reached for his phone, already dialing. Victor hung up after muttering a few quiet words into the phone. What's next? I asked, leaning forward in my chair. A couple of specialists are on their way to take Tessa to our psych expert, Victor said. You can tag along if you want. I'm in, I said without hesitation. Tessa looked at me, her eyes soft but nervous. Will you stay with me? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. You know I will, I said, squeezing her hand. A few minutes later, two guys in crisp lab coats showed up with a wheelchair. Tessa settled into it, and they wheeled her out, me trailing close behind. Meanwhile, back at Paragon's base, Clara's lead muscle was getting antsy. They've been gone too long, he told her, eyeing the salvage yard entrance on his screen. No sign of us for hours, and his crew was itching to move. Fine, Clara said, her voice sharp. We know where they're at. Head back to HQ. We'll grab them later. The call ended, and their SUVs spun around, kicking up dust. Clara set her phone down and turned to Warren. No luck getting the Lelands, she said. Warren frowned. What's the word on Nathan? Clara shook her head. Not good. His injuries are worse than we thought. Might not make it to morning. What's our play? She asked. Should we snatch them and drag them here? No, Warren said, his voice cold. We'll move them to the lake house. How do we pull that off? Clara asked, leaning in. That's on you, Warren said. Tessa said she's quitting, right? Let her think she can. Make sure it's clean, she's trusting enough to buy it. Her husband will probably insist on coming along. Let him. Get security ready to nab them both. I need to know how much he's figured out about our setup. Why is he such a big deal? Clara asked, her brow furrowed. I thought he was just some tech drone. Warren's eyes narrowed. He's more than that. I just don't know how much more. We'll use Tessa to get him talking. So she's bait, Clara said, a smirk creeping onto her face. He'll crack when he sees we're not bluffing. He'd do anything to keep her safe. Hope you're right, Clara said. Warren grinned. I am. Make sure the lake house is prepped. We tried playing nice to get him on board, now we'll force his hand. Once we're done, we'll pass him off, and he'll have a little accident. Clara's smile widened as she left the room. What they didn't know was Nexus had their whole chat recorded and beamed straight to our servers. I was pacing in a waiting area while Tessa went through the hypnotherapy Victor had talked about, meant to dig up memories Paragon had buried. It had been over an hour when Victor poked his head in. Got a minute? He asked. Sure, I said, glancing at the clock. How much longer is this gonna take? At least a couple hours, he said. I nodded and followed him out. He led me to a cozy lounge, vented to high hell, with leather chairs circled around a fake fireplace. Victor plopped down and waved for me to do the same. He flipped open a small case, offering me a slim, flavored cigar. Thanks, I said, taking one. He lit his, and I followed suit, the sweet scent filling the air. Can't believe they let you smoke in here, I said, shaking my head. Victor chuckled. This place could tank a missile strike. A few cigars ain't gonna hurt. I laughed, settling in. He handed me a folder. I flipped it open, scanning a medical report that might as well have been in another language. What's this? I asked, frowning. Tessa's blood work, Victor said. Check the highlighted parts. One's a restraint drug. The other's a compound I haven't seen in years. What's it to do? I asked, my gut tightening. In small doses, it makes you wide open to suggestions, he explained. Mixed with the restraint pill, it'd have Tessa on edge, ready to go along with whatever they pushed. Honestly, it's a miracle she held out as long as she did. I took a drag, letting that sink in. Anything else? Yeah, Victor said. There's a federal task force tracking this stuff. They're sending one of their best agents to meet us this afternoon. I nodded, puffing on the cigar. What's Paragon's next move? They're planning to grab you both the second they get a shot, Victor said, his voice grim. We already knew they were coming, I said. This time it's permanent, he added. From what we've got, they're looking to sell you to a buyer in Central Asia and fake your deaths. My jaw clenched. What's our counter? We won't let it happen, Victor said. We've got eyes on them. We'll know when they move and where. I've got a call to hash it out. Can I sit in? I asked. Sorry, Bryce, he said. It's above your clearance. Your job's to stick with Tessa. I nodded, staring at the fake flames. We smoked in silence for a bit before I spoke up. Have you ever been married, Victor? He glanced at me, pain flickering in his eyes. Yeah, a long time ago. What happened, if you don't mind me asking? I said, keeping my tone easy. Same old story, he said with a shrug. Too many hours on the job, too much stress from dodging enemies and keeping secrets from the people you love. You get it. I do, I said, nodding. It was too much for her, he went on. Came home one day, and she was gone. Left a note saying she'd found someone else, someone who was around, who didn't hide everything. Divorce papers were on the table. That was 20 years back. Damn, I'm sorry, I said. You got kids? 2 girls, he said, his voice softening. Their mom took them. They call another guy dad now. Haven't talked to them in years. They probably don't even think about me. He paused, then looked at me. But you and Tessa? You've got a shot at something different. I hope so, I said. Victor nodded. Tessa's a good one. A little too trusting sometimes, but she's sharp, tougher than you think, and she loves you, God knows why. We both chuckled. Be there for her, Bryce, he said. I will, I said, meaning it. Good, Victor said, standing. I've got that call. Head back to Tessa. I'll ping you when I'm ready. Got it, I said. I finished my cigar as he left, then headed to check on Tessa. When I got there, the tech told me she was almost done and would be out soon. I settled into a chair in the waiting area, flipping on a TV, but my mind was miles away, stuck on Tessa and everything we'd been through. About an hour later, the door swung open, and there she was, smiling at me. Something about her seemed different, brighter, maybe, though I couldn't pin it down. How are you holding up? I asked, standing to meet her. I'm good, she said, her grin wide and genuine. I glanced at the tech who'd been with her. Is she free to go? The tech nodded. Yeah, she's clear. We're putting together the report for Prime. Appreciate it, I said, turning back to Tessa. I don't know about you, but I'm starving. Wanna hit the cafeteria? Heck yeah, she said, her eyes lighting up. We grabbed a couple of cheeseburgers with onion rings and found a table. You seem different, I said, studying her as we sat. Are you sure you're okay? Better than I've felt in forever, she said, popping a ring in her mouth. My head's clear, like a fog lifted. Did you remember much? I asked, leaning in. Oh, yeah, she said, her voice full of energy. I can't believe how close I came to messing everything up with you. Can you forgive me, Bryce? I think so, I said, pulling out the folder Victor had given me. What's that? She asked, nodding at it. Your blood work, I said. They found traces of a restraint pill and some drug that makes you open to suggestion. Victor said those pills probably had you feeling like you were losing it. They did, she said, her eyes glistening. Every day was a fight to keep my head straight. What about those articles Clara sent you? I asked. You read them? She nodded, looking down. Want me to guess what they were about? Were you gonna tell me? I'll tell you, she said, taking a breath. They were all the same, weak husbands, wives stepping out, and lovers acting like jerks. The husbands were humiliated, forced to watch their wives with other guys, even clean up after. Made it sound like that was normal. Did those stories get to you? I asked, keeping my tone gentle. Her cheeks flushed. I'm ashamed to admit it, but yeah, they did, she said. Between those articles and what Clara, Nathan, and the others kept saying, I was a wreck, always on edge. Now I get it, they were drugging me, twisting my head. Victor said it's a miracle you held out as long as you did, I told her. It wasn't easy, she said, her voice breaking. It was like two versions of me fighting. Good Tessa kept saying, don't betray Bryce, it's wrong. But bad Tessa was whispering, go ahead, let Nathan do what he wants, Bryce LL never know. I'm glad Tessa won, I said, reaching for her hand. Except that last day, she said, her eyes dropping. Would you really have gone through with it if I hadn't stopped him? She hesitated, then nodded. Probably. No, honestly, yeah, I would've. I hate myself for it. I squeezed her hand. You pulled me back, she said, a small smile breaking through. Reminds me who I am. Can you forgive me? Considering everything, yeah, I think I can, I said. Just don't let it happen again. I swear, she said, her voice firm. I know I've been too trusting, but now it's like I'm seeing clearly for the first time. I've got one condition, I said, a grin creeping onto my face. What's that? She asked, tilting her head. One day, you're gonna show me how you use that little gadget of yours. Her eyes widened, and she laughed. For real? You want a front row seat for that? Why not? I said, winking. If you're good, maybe I'll let you watch, she teased, her voice playful. Look at you, getting all sneaky, I said, shaking my head. We both laughed, the tension easing. My phone buzzed, pulling me back. It was a text from Victor. Victor wants us in his office, I told her. You done? She grabbed her last onion ring and stood. Yup, let's go, she said, munching as we headed out. When we walked into Victor's office, a guy in a navy blazer was standing there, average height, sharp eyes. Bryce, Tessa, Victor said, this is Elliot Vance from the Homeland Defense Unit. We shook hands, and Victor waved us to sit. Homeland Defense Unit? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Never heard of it. Most folks haven't heard of you either, Elliot said with a smirk. We're a public-private outfit, handling cases like yours. He spread out photos of 4 women on the desk. Tessa, recognize any of these? Tessa studied them, then pointed to one. Her, she said. You sure? Elliot asked. Yeah, she said. It was a couple years back, but I saw her talking to Warren and Clara. So, Warren Tate, the head honcho, and Clara Hensley, who runs the executive support crew. Elliot clarified. Tessa nodded. Exactly. I figured she was a client or something. Have you ever heard of SAM or the spousal adjustment movement? Elliot asked. Tessa thought for a second. Yeah, I've seen SAM in some papers on my desk, but I didn't pay much attention. The woman you picked out was Diane Kessler, Elliot said. Ring any bells? No, Tessa said, shaking her head. Who is she? Victor asked. Diane was SAM's top operative, Elliot said. She died in custody about 1.5 years ago. What's SAM? Victor pressed. Started as a group targeting cheating husbands, Elliot explained. But it morphed into something nastier, pushing a heavy political angle inside Paragon. What's that got to do with a law firm running a trafficking ring? Victor asked. Good question, Elliot said. What do you know about the compound on the lake? Tessa perked up. Paragon's got a place there, she said. Not just a house, it's a whole setup, with a dock and a chopper pad. I've never been, but I heard it's locked down tight, gated and guarded. Execs go there to meet clients or kick back. That's where Warren and Clara are planning to take you, Victor said. Tessa's face fell, her eyes going wide. What's wrong? Victor asked. I just remembered something, Tessa said, her voice shaky. A coworker told me about a party she went to there, crazy stuff, drugs, things that weren't legal. That's where they were gonna sell you to a buyer, Victor said, his tone grim. We need to loop in the feds, Elliot said. Victor nodded and looked at me. Why don't you and Tessa step out for a bit? I stood, motioning for Tessa to follow. Outside, she grabbed my arm. What did Victor mean? She asked, her voice trembling. I took a deep breath. Clara and Warren were gonna force you into something awful, I said. And from what I'm hearing, they're planning to take me out too. Tessa's eyes went wide. Oh my God, she whispered, gripping my arm. What are they gonna do now? No clue, I said, my jaw tight. We'll have to wait and see. We didn't wait long. A few minutes later, Victor's door swung open, and he waved us back inside. We settled into the chairs, and Victor tapped a button on his phone. "We've pinned down the lake compound," he said. "You were right, Tessa, it's locked up tight with gates and guards. There's movement there." He hit another button, and a live feed of the place popped up on a screen. "How's it looking out there?" Victor asked into the phone. "All under control," a voice crackled back. 6 people in the main house. 2 just flew in by chopper, 4 others look like security. One's a woman, the other's an older guy. "Probably Warren and Clara," Tessa said, her voice low. "Got it," Victor said. "Hold for orders." He switched lines. "Hawk 1, this is Prime," he said. "You got eyes on the target?" "Affirmative, Prime," a guy replied. "Armed?" Victor asked. "Locked and loaded," the voice confirmed. I knew what that meant, a Nexus drone, probably packing enough firepower to level a small town. "Stand by for my call," Victor said. "Target the chopper and take out the main building." "Roger that," the operator said. Tessa's phone lit up, Clara's name flashing. She mouthed it to me before answering. "Hey, Clara," she said, her voice steady. "What's up?" "Tessa, I think we got our wires crossed earlier," Clara said, all honey and fake concern. "I want to fix it. Can you and Bryce come to the lake house?" "When?" Tessa asked, playing along. "Now," Clara said. "It's important to Warren and me." Tessa didn't miss a beat. "That's not happening, Clara. Not today, not ever. Oh, and one more thing, go straight to hell." Clara's voice sharpened. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Tessa said. "Have fun down there." She hung up, looking at Victor, who gave her a nod like he was impressed. "Take them out," Victor told the drone operator. We turned to the screen, watching as the feed showed a flash, confirmation the strike hit. Tessa pumped her fist. "Yes," she shouted, her eyes blazing. I couldn't help but grin at her fire. Victor and Elliot swapped quiet laughs, like they'd seen this kind of thing before. "Bold move," Victor said, his tone sobering. "But Paragon's still out there. We've got work to do." My smile faded, the weight settling back in. Victor caught my look. "You worried about taking out Americans without a trial, Bryce?" "Yeah," I admitted, rubbing my neck. It crossed my mind. "They had it coming," Tessa said, her voice hard. "I'm not saying they didn't," I said, glancing at Victor. "What's your take?" "You're right to question it," Victor said. "And since you'll be in the thick of bringing down Paragon, we owe you the full picture." He nodded at Elliot, who leaned forward. "You two remember that thing with the First Lady 6 months back?" Elliot asked. "Yeah," I said. "They said she had a stroke." "It was messier than that," Elliot said. "She was mixed up in a plot against President Harper. It backfired, and she died from the same drug she tried to use on him. We're digging into who else was involved, and Paragon's fingerprints are all over it. The stuff we found in Tessa's system and the intel she gave us tied it together." "So Tessa was a target because she knew too much?" I asked, my gut twisting. "Even if she didn't realize it," Victor said. "Add in a Central Asian connection, the guy Warren wanted to sell her to as links to regional terror groups. To them, she was a liability to erase." "Who greenlit the strike?" I asked, my voice steady. "Came from the top," Victor said. "But there's still plenty to clean up." I nodded. "I'm in." "Good," Victor said. Meanwhile, Warren Tate was cruising along a quiet road near Lake Norman, a smirk on his face as he pictured what he had planned for Tessa, making me watch, breaking me down. Clara had always been his ace, and he was sure she'd lure us to the lake house. Then he spotted a sheriff's checkpoint up ahead and slowed, rolling down his window. "Sorry, sir," the deputy said. "Roads closed due to an incident. Nobody gets through." "I've got a place up there," Warren argued, his tone sharp. "No exceptions," the deputy said, stone cold. "Turn around." "How long's this gonna take?" Warren asked, irritation bubbling. "Could be a day or two," the deputy said. Warren's jaw clenched, but he had no play. "Thanks," he muttered, swinging his car around. In the rear view, he caught the deputy talking into his radio, and a cold prickle ran down his spine. He hit a button on his dash to call Clara. Straight to voicemail, unheard of for her. He didn't bother leaving a message and dialed another number. "We've got trouble," he said, his voice tight. "Get back to the office," a voice snapped before cutting off. For the first time, Warren felt real fear clawing at him. Back in Victor's office, I looked at him. "What's the plan?" Victor slid me a piece of paper with an address. "We've got a meeting set near Paragon's main office in Durham," he said. "Warren's heading to one of our outposts, so he'll be there in an hour. Elliot and some of our people will link up with you." "I'm coming too," Tessa said, her voice firm. I turned to her, surprised. "It's risky, Tessa. I don't want you getting hurt." "It's my call," she said, standing tall. "You're my husband, Bryce. We faced this together." I looked into Tessa's eyes and saw a fire I hadn't noticed before, pure determination. Glancing at Victor, I caught his nod. "She's in this now," he said. I let out a sigh and turned back to her. "All right, but you stick to my lead, got it?" "Got it," she said, her voice steady. We left Victor's office and headed to my car, with Elliot and his crew tailing us in a black SUV. The drive to Durham was quiet, but my head was spinning. I was proud of Tessa. She'd found a strength I didn't know she had, but worry gnawed at me, wondering what we were walking into. We pulled up to the spot Victor had given us, a mobile command unit buzzing with screens and tech. I parked, popped the trunk, and grabbed 2 bulletproof vests, handing one to Tessa. "What's this for?" she asked, eyeing it. "Keeping you from getting shot," I said, my tone serious. "Remember, follow my lead." She slipped it on, flashing a small smile. "I'm not helpless, you know, Bryce." I grinned and leaned in, kissing her quickly. "Never said you were." A loud voice cut through. "Leland." A big guy in a dark tactical uniform strode over. Tessa and I both answered, "Yeah," at the same time. He looked at her, then back at me. "I'm Bryce Leland," I said, stepping forward. "Special Agent Carver, FBI," he said, shaking my hand. "Briefing's starting." Me, Tessa, Elliot, and the team gathered around a table as Carver laid out the plan, building layout, route to the top floor, the works. Mid-sentence, Tessa raised her hand. Carver's eyes narrowed. "Yes?" "I've got a keycard for the top floor," she said. "Wouldn't that be easier than your plan?" I bit back a grin as Carver's face turned red. After a beat, he exhaled. "Fine, Mrs. Leland. We'll use your card. You'll guide us up." Tessa gave a confident nod, and I swear she was glowing. When Carver wrapped up, "Any questions?" Nobody spoke. "Move out," he barked. Armed agents fanned out, taking positions. I checked my gear, making sure my pistol was ready. Tessa caught my focus. "Am I making you nervous?" she asked, half teasing. "Nah," I said, pulling her into a quick hug. "I'm proud of you. Never seen anybody shut Carver down like that." We shared a fast kiss before I went back to my gear. Elliot joined us, and we headed for the Paragon building. Up on the top floor, Warren Tate sat at a polished conference table, his face pale as Victor Hensley, the board's head honcho, ripped into him. "What now?" Warren asked, his voice cracking. "Shred everything, you idiot," Victor snapped. "I told you this would blow up if you didn't plan better. Move." Before Warren could answer, a huge guy in a suit burst in. "We've got trouble," he said. "FBI's here." "The FBI?" Warren's eyes bugged out. "They're swarming the building," the guy said. "Head to the roof," Victor ordered. "I'll call the chopper." "Too late," the guard said. "FBI's got it locked down." "Damn it," Warren muttered. "What now?" The door exploded open before he could finish, FBI agents storming in. The guard reached for his gun, but an agent disarmed him in a flash. Me, Tessa, and Elliot stepped in, backed by a wall of armed feds. I locked eyes with Warren, my voice ice cold. "Your turn to be somebody's pawn in lockup," I said. Tessa marched up, her face blazing, and clocked him square in the jaw. "I quit," she yelled, her voice echoing. I slapped cuffs on Warren, reading him his rights while Elliot did the same to Victor. Agents spread out, grabbing files and rounding up other Paragon execs. My phone buzzed, Prime calling. "Leland," I answered. "Nice work, Bryce," Victor said. "Thanks, boss," I said. "Take the weekend off," he said. Monday, 7:30 a.m., Tessa starts training. Training? I asked, caught off guard. Yup, he said. I want your new partner ready for the field. Partner? I said, my jaw dropping. You two are a hell of a team, he said. Now go enjoy your time off. I hung up, turning to Tessa, who was watching me, curious. Everything okay, babe? She asked. Yeah, I said, a grin spreading. Victor gave us the weekend off. And come Monday, you're starting training. Training, she said, her eyebrow arching. For what? You're gonna be my new partner, I said. Her face lit up, and she threw her arms around me. Partner? I love that, she said, her voice warm. Come on, Mr. Leland, she whispered, her tone teasing. Let's go celebrate. Sounds like a plan, I said, taking her hand. We walked out of the building together, ready for whatever came next. A couple months later, the top Paragon brass faced trial in federal court. Every one of them got slammed with guilty verdicts and max sentences, thanks to testimony from women on the executive support team. Nathan never woke up from his coma, died of a heart attack the day the final verdicts came down. Around that time, Victor and I stood in an observation room, watching Tessa spar with her combat trainer. She wasn't the same trusting woman I'd married, she was sharp, confident, a force. My chest swelled with pride. Victor, I said, keeping my eyes on her. Got a question. Shoot, he said. Did you do something to her during that hypnotherapy? Nope, he said. That's the real Tessa Leland. We just helped her find her fire. Are you still good with her as my partner? I asked. Hell yeah, he said. I can't wait to see you two in action. I nodded, satisfied. What's next? Not yet, he said, a sly grin creeping in. Once she's done training, you'll know. For now, take her to lunch. Good call, I said. I headed down to the gym just as Tessa wrapped up. She spotted me, wiped the sweat from her brow, and jogged over, grinning. How'd I do, partner? She asked, leaning in for a quick kiss. Kicked ass, I said, chuckling. But maybe a shower before we grab lunch. She laughed, nudging my arm. After lunch, I want to hit the range, she said, her eyes sparkling. Mind if I borrow your piece? You're in a mood today, I said, raising an eyebrow. Just wait till tonight, she teased, winking. She'd always had spirit, but training had turned her fierce, unstoppable. Watching her head to the showers, I couldn't help but think life was about to get real interesting.